Have you ever played a game and you wanted to see how many deaths it's taken you to complete it? Well, I wrote a script that watches your gameplay and counts your deaths on stream automatically. It takes a reference image that you've given it and it matches it directly on your live screen and automatically tracks your deaths. Without further ado, let's get right into it. So go into the description and click on the first link to my GitHub repository for auto death counter. And this is my repo. It has everything on the front page here. You could read through it all. Otherwise, just click on the big green download button right here and it will download the latest release. Or you can alternatively go on the releases on the right side and then also download the RAR file. So whenever you have it downloaded, open up the RAR file and extract the entire folder into anywhere on your computer realistically. It doesn't really matter. And then open it up and you should see these files here. Now to get started, we only really need this file right here, the CMD one. Although if you're using this in OBS, you will need this top one right here, the standard Python file. If you don't want to use OBS, then these two options are your go-to. The CMD runs in a command line interface, and then this one as well, if you just manually type in Python and then run this file. Now at the top, you'll see we have two folders. We have death counter presets. I've included presets for Black Myth Wukong, Code Vein, Elden Ring, Eliza P. And if we go back, we also have a references folder. So this has references for most of the Souls games, at least from FromSoft. We have deaths, HP, and victory screens. And just saying, like, yes, this is primarily built for death counters, but you can realistically use this for anything. You don't need to match specifically a death on your screen. If you want to match, you know, like your HP value, or like if you've ever finished a boss in a game over here, for example, in the victory screen, I have references to most of the FromSoft victory screens every time you finish a boss. And another thing, if you were to use these, I would highly recommend to look at the reference sheet. So this just has all of them laid out in a grid. This actually wasn't made by me. This is by someone on Reddit, if I'm not mistaken. But just bear in mind that not all of the victory text are in the same location. Most of them are in the middle of the screen, as you can see here. But there's a few of them, like on Bloodborne, they would have them at the very top of the screen. So just keep that in mind later when we get into the settings of the script. Alrighty, so we're on OBS now. So just to get started, go over to the top, click on Tools and then Scripts. And then you should be able to add in the script here. So just click the plus button and navigate to wherever you saved the file. And you want to add specifically one that's just autodeathcounter.py, not the CLI one that is for command line interface if you're not going to run this inside OBS. So after you've added that in, you should be able to click on it and you will see the UI on the right side. To start off, I would scroll all the way to the bottom, go to the preset section, and then change your preset to any of the main four that I've handed off to you. I'll give a disclaimer, is Black Myth Wukong and Code Vein, these two rely on your HP bar. Meanwhile, Elden Ring and Eliza P, these will rely on the actual death screens that pop up. Elden Ring will work for basically all the FromSoft games because a lot of them behave the same way. So I'm going to choose Elden Ring for now. If we scroll back to the very top, you'll see the main controls here, and I will leave most of this the same, and you can click Start Detection now, but I would check log scores to script log. What this does is if you open the script log here on OBS, this will open another window and this will show you everything that the script is doing. And I'll actually have this on the side. If you have a second monitor, just leave this on the side for the initial testing phases, just to make sure it's working correctly. If we go back to the main controls and we scroll down here, this first group for trackers. Now this, my script does support multiple trackers. So in most of these cases, we're only tracking deaths. But as I was saying earlier, you can use this to track anything you want. If you want to track like a certain power up that pops up, a victory screen, or anything else that pops up that's like consistent image or like a glyph on the screen, then it will work with my script. Tracker type, this is one of the most important things here. So depending on the game you're playing, for example, in Elden Ring, any of the Dark Souls, Bloodborne and all that, all the FromSoft games, they will actually show like a death screen and it shows like, oh, you're dead. And that's what we're using to reference and track. And that actually shows a death screen. But other games like Black Myth Wukong, they will not show any screen at all. In fact, if you have a game that doesn't show a death screen, you can change this to health bar / black screen, and this will track your active health in the game. And currently this only works on horizontal or vertical health bars or orb styled health bars. It does not currently work. I've tried to use it on Resident Evil's UI and all that. That's just too complicated. I'm not going to get into that. Yeah, so I'm going to stick with glyph or death screen for now, and I'll show you the other one later. So if we click on that, change your text source. This is the text sources within your active scene on OBS. So I'm just going to choose this text source for now. And then here you'll see the references list. Now this shows Elden Ring as my main thing. So this is just referencing, if you click the plus button here, click add files. Now we have all of these death screens here. And you can see that most of the FromSoft ones are the exact same. Just choose the correct one for your game. And if you don't have one in here that's not supported, if you look at how I did it here, it's very easy to do. Just go ahead in your game and die really quickly, and then screenshot and tightly crop it around the actual death glyph or screen. And if it's not a text you see here, it's like an icon. Just try to tightly crop it around. Don't crop it too much. Try to leave some gap in between, just so we have more of the edges to detect, if that makes sense. Going back to the script UI, you could change the display format. If I type like, oh, I don't know, total deaths, and you can see at the top left that it also updates at the same time. And then this end bracket is just the active deaths right now. And then you can also set the counter here to anything you want. Let's say we're at death 150, apply count. See up here, it goes to 150. And then here, another important part in the detection group right here. This is for the selected tracker that you're actively on right now. Most cases, edges will work completely fine. So what this does, it will edge detect and try to match it to your reference image that you've handed it. This will work for the most of the time. If it doesn't work, then try to change it to grayscale. So I would just stick with edges for now. And then a color gate, this is self-explanatory. So let's say your game has a specific color that you want to gate it to. So most of the time it's going to be red, at least for the FromSoft games. And you could select your color here. One thing I didn't mention is if you select your color, you notice you can't use an eyedropper. So the way to do that is actually go to the very top. There's a button here called Open Capture Preview for the selected tracker. This will open up a separate Python window. Now actually show your screen, and this is running at a very low frame rate on purpose, obviously. And you can see that this red box here is the active capture box right here. So this is what the script is looking for. So if your death screen is in the center of your screen, then you're fine and you don't need to change anything. Make sure you align this box wherever the death text or glyph is going to be at. If it's at the top, at the bottom, just make sure you know where it's at, if that makes sense. And then if we just scroll down on the tracker settings, you'll see capture width and height right here. This will just adjust that for you. So capture width, you can just expand it. You don't need to be extremely precise on where it's going to be. If you want to generalize where it's at, like if it's like somewhere in the middle, then you're fine. But just be wary. If you do the entire screen, for example, then it might do some false detections. And then this option here for downscale, match downscale, this is just ensuring that if you give it a tightly cropped image, it'll try to downscale the image down to wherever it detects the edges. And then match threshold, this is the next important thing. So as I was saying, if you scroll to the top again, if you have log scores to script log, if I just click start detection, you'll see, if I go into the script log here, you'll see that it's actively trying to scan my screen. And you'll see there's a score right here. So this is that match threshold. So this is trying to match against my reference image that I handed it right here. So you would want to change this value. So if you die in game, if this goes to, let's say 0.6 in my case, if it goes to 0.6 and above, then you want to set this to 0.6. So that's just saying if we detect something above 0.6, we will trigger that as a death. And then this other match right here, this is actually the color gate right here. So notice this is at 75. So even if your score matches at above 0.6, if it's a false detection, it will not trigger a death if your color gate is also not matched, if that makes sense. So you basically need both of these requirements at the same time in order to count a death. And then if I uncheck this, you can see that option goes away as well. If we scroll down more, we also have another option for sound. So let's say if I enable this, it will just play like a little beep sound. Or you can add in a custom sound to your liking. And this will just ensure like, oh, if it automatically detects a death and I know I didn't die in this part, then I can easily detect that on my own and then manually decrease the count in case, like it's not a perfect script, but this is just an option there. And then at the very bottom, we obviously have the presets. And yeah, one more thing for specifically Sekiro. I didn't make a preset for this, but for Sekiro, what you want to do, so in that game, there's 2 deaths. You technically have 2 lives. And a lot of these options here, especially in the detection group right here, a lot of these right here are specifically made for Sekiro. They have a fake death or like a first death that you don't actually die in. And then they have the second life or the second death where you actually do die. So in order to get that, you would want to enable the color gate. This is specifically for Sekiro, by the way. You would enable the color gate, choose the color, and then choose the match strength. And then this checkbox right here, ignore off color fake death. So in Sekiro, the fake death screen is like a grayish hue. If I go to the references right here and I go to deaths, you'll see that we have 2 here. So this is the first fake death that happens. And then this is the real death, if that makes sense. We have the fake and real death. So in order to get this right, you would want to set the specific off color and then set this to the gray, which is already on. And then there's a ceiling here. So this is just saying, I would actually leave this at 15. I wouldn't even touch this, but this is just saying that anything near 0 would be considered a fake death, if that makes sense. And then anything above it will be an actual death. So I would just leave this here, and then this will just say that if it recognizes a fake death, like the gray glyph first, then it will trigger a fake episode, if that makes sense. And then it will not count that death at all. And then this next checkbox here, fade to black screen, you would also want to have this on for Sekiro. This is just saying on the first fake death, the game actually gives you an option to either resurrect on the spot or die right there. If you die, your screen will fade to black, and that's what this checkbox is for. So if you actually manually click to die on your first death, then it will trigger this fade to black screen check, and it will recognize that the player actually decided to die there instead of resurrecting. If you do resurrect, then your screen obviously won't fade to black, and you're still playing the game, of course. So this will be ignored. I really hope that made sense. I will try to add a preset. Actually, I didn't make a preset while I was recording this video, but that's the gist of it. There's a lot of options here. These 3 specifically are for Sekiro. Although if there's other games that have a fake death or like a first death, then you could also use that there. And then additionally, you don't even need these checked, these off color fake death options to use fade to black screen. If you want to use fade to black screen even without that, this will just check like after we trigger your death, if the screen doesn't fade to black within 4 or 5 seconds, then it will not trigger your death. I know that's a lot of information all at once. One more thing, you can also add multiple references here. So if you want to add like all of these, then you can. I wouldn't really do that though, but you can do that. One more thing, if we go to tracker type and set this to health bar, you'll notice all these settings have changed. So now we're purely focusing on the health bar. So if I change this, if I change my preset down to code vein, for example, let's load that one. You would want to set a full HP reference. So in your game, take a screenshot of your HP bar at full HP. And then the second one for 0 HP, so after you've died. This is optional. You actually don't need to do this, but it just helps the script out a tiny bit more. And you'll notice that in the script logged, if I go over here, it actually shows my HP value, and it says 0, obviously because I don't have, the game on right now, but it shows 0. And if we look on the capture box, this is where the HP bar would be, at least roughly speaking, on code vein. And if this isn't where it is, obviously adjust the box width and all that on your own. And then we also have options for the bar orientation. Some games have it horizontal and some games have it vertical, or it's like an orb. So you can also choose that. I'm going to stay on horizontal. There's also a checkbox here to detect the fill color on the full reference. So the fill color is just the color of your health on the health bar inside your game. Most cases, it's going to be red, obviously, but some games like Black Myth Wukong, it's a white health bar. You can leave this on if you don't want to mess with it. Otherwise, if you uncheck this, it actually lets you choose your fill color instead. So if you want to be super precise, then you can do that. Another thing, sorry, I did not mention this earlier, but if you go into the capture preview, remember that's at the very top here, open capture preview. If you go to the capture preview, you click on a color, this will actually copy the color you picked into the script log. And then you can input that into any of the color options throughout the script. And then obviously here we have the health box with height, offsets, and then this last option here, death when HP is below this number. I would not set this to pure 0. I wouldn't set this to straight 0. I would set this to around like 10 or 5, just in case. And then sometimes, specifically on Black Myth Wukong actually, the health bar goes straight to 0 and then it fades your screen to black. What I would do then is I would actually increase the check interval, or sorry, I would decrease this down to like 500, and you'll notice that this starts updating much faster now. So yeah, there's a lot of flexibility here. There's a lot of options to change. I will leave some presets, as I was saying, because not every game is the same. Some games don't have a dead screen. Some games do have a dead screen. Some games work better than others. And yeah, and if you want to save your presets on your own, you can name them here, save them. It will save them locally in the relative directory, so it'll save them here. You can see all your presets here. If you want to share this around to other players, other users, or edit them directly, you can. They will all have all their information here. Additionally, speaking of, not just the OBS version of the script, we also have the CMD version of the script, or the command line interface. These two files are identical. Just one is a simple double click and it'll load up like this. And this is the exact same, by the way, as the OBS version. You would have to click through the numbers you want and then click enter. So if I go to preferences, I can change anything here and go back. I can go to my trackers and edit my trackers. And the way the CLI or CMD versions work, it will output to a text document. And this text document is actually pretty useful because you can either just read off the text document, or you could go into OBS, and if you go to a text source on OBS, you go to properties, you can actually read from file. And if you can't guess, this will also work. So you don't need to use the OBS version, if that makes sense. There's a lot of stuff here. There's also presets. You can load presets. All your presets are here. Let's load this one. Why not? And it'll show your deaths on the home screen, or if you click start detection, it'll also show everything here. Another thing, last thing, I'm sure you've already noticed, presets between the CMD or CLI version also work on the OBS version as well. So they both work across each other. And yeah, that's pretty much it. And as I was saying, if you want to add your own references, all you have to do is go into your game, die real quick, do a quick screenshot, and try to tightly crop it if you can. Don't crop it too tight, obviously, so the script's able to see like the entire screen, or not the entire screen, the entire death screen. That's pretty much it. I really hope you guys enjoy the script. I put a lot of work into this. Actually, I tweeted about it. If you follow me on Twitter, I post a lot of my updates over there. And I actually made this live. Well, not live. I did it while I was live streaming. I was doing a 28-hour stream, by the way. Quick note, go check out my Twitch. I stream every single day, by the way. And I made a lot of the bulk of this actually during my stream. I was watching my friend play Liza P, and I was getting tired of manually updating his death count. So that's kind of the backstory about this script. I do hope everyone enjoys the script. I put a lot of work into it. I said initially in my tweets, I said like, oh, this is going to be easy. Yeah, 1 month later. 1 month later. Anyways, I do hope everyone enjoys the script. Let me know if there's any bugs or issues or any features that you want added in the future. And yeah, hope you guys enjoy it.